I want to do a little bit of just random speculation because I talked to a decent amount of people in and outside the industry, fans, retailers, distributors. Well, not really distributors so much, but definitely the fans and the retailers part, and a lot of creators. And without naming any names, it's a pretty consistent comment I get that people say, "Yeah, I don't really like Ta-Nehisi Coates' Captain America." And why is that? Is it because of Ta-Nehisi Coates' politics? No, it's that they don't like the book. So how did that happen? Hey everybody, this is Perch. It's very easy to dismiss these kinds of things as saying, well, he's just not a good writer. He was hired for politics reasons and virtue signaling and whatever adjective you want to, and you could do that, But I think there's a more interesting story here because believe it or not, Marvel, DC, any company, they would like to make money. They're not just wandering around saying, you know what, I think for laughs, we're going to hire these people that that are clearly not qualified to do the job, and we're just gonna throw some money away because that's owning Trump. That's how we're gonna own him. We're gonna waste money. That's not how it goes. There was a belief, certainly with Ta-Nehisi Coates, that they would be bringing in a strong writer that would make them money. That would be popular, that would generate attention. That was the idea. It has not been a huge success in the sense that you look at kind of his Black Panther work, and that's definitely been more successful than his Captain America. But his Black Panther work has not exploded that title off the shelves, particularly with the movie, which was I don't want to say a surprise hit because anything coming out of the MCU is making a lot of money these days. But I think it did better than people were expecting. I think that's safe to say. And I think it put interest in the character that struggled a little bit at Marvel. I think Black Panther, Christopher Priest had a great run on it. There's been a lot of really great Black Panther stories out there. But he's never been like a core character of Marvel. When I say core, I mean sales wise. He's not been a character that's burned up the charts from sales. Respectable, sure. Remember the Avengers? Yeah, great adventures, absolutely. But in terms of dollars, he hasn't been there. So I think that the movie was a pleasant surprise. So they put Ta-Nehisi Coates on, and it was part of Marvel's. Let's bring in some people outside of comics who have a following, who have a relatively big name, and have some more not comics in their resume that may lead to some different stories. I think that's the thought process that went on there. So Ta-Nehisi Coates, of course, novelist, a poet, a writer for the Atlantic, is well known, right? And so, of course, let's throw him on Black Panther because Black Panther is an important Black character. Ta-Nehisi Coates is an important African American writer, and why not? That sounds like a good. Let's put the two together and see what happens. All right, fine. So the Black Panther experiment doesn't go great, and then the answer is, hey, let's we have Nick Spencer on a Secret Empire, and Captain America is revealed to be a secret Hydra agent, except he wasn't really, and it was a bad Captain America, and the good Captain America gets back there. Captain America who's not a member of Hydra or racist, and Mark Waid does a couple issues, and then it's announced, hey, we're going to put Ta-Nehisi Coates on Captain America. And at the time, a lot of people said, what? Like, why? Because at that point, his Black Panther work was, it was okay. It was very wordy, and wordy isn't a sin, but it definitely it wasn't like the movie. I guess is probably the best way to put it. It wasn't like it was burning up the shelves with kind of action adventure and high concept. It was more exploring kind of the Wakanda and the politics and the religion and the mythology and it added some depth. In all fairness, added some depth to Wakanda and kind of the history of the Black Panther, and that was I don't know. It was an idea, but Captain America was was a bit more head scratching Because Captain America, first off, kind of like the video I did about Iceman, he was coming off of a very a destroying run. He was just coming off of a value destroying run. Probably the best way to put that. He was the Nick Spencer run did not catch a lot of people's attention. It was seen as divisive. A lot of people didn't like Captain America as a Hydra agent. The Marvel doubled down, saying we're not just going to undo this. This is the real Captain America, and then it's like, oh, but it wasn't really the real Captain America. It was Cosmic Cube shenanigans, and there was a MacGuffin that came out by a guy who could vomit up cosmic cubes, and so all that is brand destroying. A lot of people really focus on Ta-Nehisi Coates and says, you've put in a crap Captain America run, and you can certainly not like it and all the rest of that, and that may be true. However, you have to recognize that going into this whole thing, Captain America was not in the best spot. And I think it's very important to keep that in your mind, because oftentimes we don't see the damage done to characters until it's the next writer, right? One writer can really hurt a property, and then we really don't see the true impact and how truly negative any of that stuff is until much later. That's just true with a lot of things: shows, entertainment, books, movies, and on and on. So I think that that he was coming in rough, and then it was announced that CB Cebulski, I think CB was going to be working with Ta-Nehisi Coates to kind of craft the character and the story arc, and maybe help him with some of the continuity, since Captain America doesn't have the same world building needs that a Black Panther does, and that is that was a good idea in premise, but the problem is it almost went too far into continuity. What I mean by that is we went with a disillusioned Captain America trying to find his place in America, trying to understand, kind of trying to rebuild. He's mistrusted by some, and he's kind of down, and he's having to kind of pick himself back up. And he turns to his cast of characters who are kind of a little bit more with it than he is. And he becomes, he gives up the shield, and then he gets, shield back, and then he's having to go underground a little bit. And unfortunately, this has been the Captain America for first of all, almost the exact storyline had been done before. Disillusioned Cap. You either remember from Captain America after Secret Empire. I think that's a different Secret Empire kind of story, where Captain America found out that a high-ranking person in government, maybe the president, was never quite clear, was evil. And that disillusioned him, and that storyline was picked up in Avengers Forever by Kurt Busiek. And so we'd seen this one before. And on top of that, the idea of Captain America giving up the shield, it was very poorly timed, because we had Captain America die, replaced by Bucky, comes back, takes back the shield, he gets aged, gives it to Falcon, comes back, turns into a Hydra agent, and then the good Captain America shows up. We get a couple issues by Mark Waid of him as a good Captain America before it's right back to, hey, he's given up the shield and it's no good, and that's bad. The challenge is, as Captain America readers are concerned, they were hoping for Captain America, maybe the Captain America they were seeing in the movies. Chris Evans running around and doing heroic things. They were not looking forward to kind of a rehash of a bunch of old storylines. So it's a long-winded way of getting back to take Ta-Nehisi Coates' name out of it. Just take him out and put in any author you want, any writer, and tell them, you're writing a story, but it's going to be this. It's going to be Captain America, and he's down, and he's kind of disillusioned, and he has to turn to his friends, and then they're going to go on some adventures, and he's going to get stripped of the uniform, but then he's going to come back and framed. And I think any writer, any of them, no matter how, pick your favorite writer in all of comics and give them that framework to work within, I think it blows up. I don't think that works. And so again, a lot of people, and by the way, you're following up probably the most divisive run on Captain America in many, many years, and good luck to you. I don't know which writer would have overcome that. Let's say some people like Tom Taylor, some people like Scott Snyder, some people like Donny Cates. Put any of them on that book, following up the Secret Empire run, and say, but by the way, you're going to have to do this story with this plot for this many issues. And I think everybody would have failed. And so this is a big full-throated defense of Ta-Nehisi Coates. I haven't enjoyed a lot of his comic work. I just it doesn't quite click and land with me. It's fine, but I think this problem, this Captain America problem, is definitely more than Ta-Nehisi Coates. I think it goes beyond him to kind of a core damage that was done to the character, and just a general kind of misunderstanding of where the industry was at. And so that's my opinion anyway. I just looking at Captain America, I think, and it's interesting to think about comics in terms of no-win situations. And I think this is an example of a no-win situation. There was no way, a better answer would have been, hey, after many, many years of Captain America being secret Nazi Hydra agent, to being old, you have to get to like just Captain America adventures. You have to go to Rick Remender, putting him in Dimension Z, and even there, he lived all these extra years, so he's coming back like he'd had another frozen in ice moment, so he's already kind of shaken and disillusioned. So you probably have to go even further back. Remember the times of Ed Brubaker's Captain America when the Winter Soldier Bucky was first introduced. You probably have to go back to there. Now, do you realize how far back you've gone? I mean, this is pre-Civil War. We're back 15 years. There's a bunch of people running around that they're trying to sell Captain America to that were not born when Captain America had just straightforward adventures. I mean, think about that. That's I think our problem, and that's where I think a lot of people very quickly go to Ta-Nehisi Coates is the problem here. I mean, maybe. I still, the jury is out on if he's a good comic writer and kind of what he can produce, but it's hard to judge him on this book and what happened because, I mean, lemons out of lemonade, right? I don't know. Anyway, what do you think? Do you think that I'm being too easy on Ta-Nehisi Coates here? Do you think that this, there's damage that gets done to a comic that nobody can overcome? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, introduce to friends, follow me on Twitter or Facebook at Comic Perch, and thanks for listening.